the night wasn't just silent, it was screaming. I could hear it, but no words would come out of my mouth. Those white ICU lights were stinging my eyes, as if they were reminding me, I am no longer just an ordinary person. I am a mother. My 2 daughters, so tiny, so fragile, my breath would hitch just watching their little chests rise and fall. Inside those plastic boxes, they were clinging to life, while outside, my own blood, my own people were counting money. When the doctor handed me those papers, there was exhaustion under his eyes, but in mine there was only terror. He said, "Madam, we will try everything, but you must be prepared." Prepared? How could I be prepared to lose the 2 lives that were just beating inside my womb? I looked toward my mother. I thought she would hold my hand, but she was scrolling through her phone. New houses, new deals, new dreams. My name wasn't in those dreams. My father sat in a chair saying, "So much money is going into parking. These hospitals are just looters." His words felt like knives in my ears. Then the phone rang. It was Serena, my sister. There was no worry in her voice, only calculations. "Listen, don't touch the trust money right now," she said. "The market isn't good. That money, which my grandfather had set aside for my life's security, was nothing more than an investment to them. My husband, Mark, he wasn't even there. He was 3,000 miles away on a business trip engineered by his mother, Evelyn. I called him over and over, every time it went to voicemail. In that moment, my heart shattered, but I couldn't cry, because my daughters were fighting, and I couldn't afford to lose. Days passed. My body was healing, but my soul was breaking. And then came the truth that changed me completely. Just the day before my daughters were born, they had stolen my trust fund, my own mother, my father, my sister. They had forged my signature and poured those millions into Serena's real estate business. When I confronted them, they laughed. "You're just being emotional right now," they said. Evelyn raised her hand to strike me, but this time I wasn't afraid. I caught her hand mid-air, and in that moment, something inside me died, and something else was born. It was my revenge. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Everything inside the house was silent, but a war was raging within my mind. My daughters made tiny sounds, their breathing, their light whimpers. Those sounds kept me tethered to life. I held them close to my chest and thought, for these 2 lives, I must now become twice as strong. I left that house, the place that carried my husband's name but offered me no safety. A small rented apartment, 2 daughters, 1 mother, and countless fears. On the first night, I sat on the floor and cried, without a sound, because mothers do not cry out loud. They break silently from within. The money was running out fast. The trust fund, my birthright, was held captive in their hands. One night I searched the internet, lawyers, lawsuits, trust fraud. Then I saw the name, Eris Thorne. People said he never loses a case. He drowns his enemies in their own mistakes. In our first meeting, he showed me no pity. He listened to my story calmly. Then he asked, "Do you want to cry or do you want to win?" That question shook me to my core. I replied, "I want to take back my daughter's future." From that day on, I learned the art of silence. I didn't call them. I didn't message them. They thought I had stayed broken. Serena was posting about new projects, new houses, and new successes on social media. Every post was a lead for me, where the money was going, where the lies were hidden. My father slowly started talking to me again. He thought I was still that same little girl who trusts everything. He would tell me which bank, which loan, which project was sinking. He had no idea I was memorizing every single word. One day I went to the storeroom of my grandfather's old house. Dust, old papers, broken furniture, and there an old voice recorder. I pressed play, and in that moment my hands trembled. Their voices, my mother, Serena, were crystal clear. The money, the cheating, the forged signatures, everything had been recorded. I didn't cry, I laughed. For the first time, because now I held the truth, and the truth is the most terrifying weapon of all. After listening to the recording, Eris said, "Now we move slowly. The higher they climb, the more painful their fall will be." And so I waited. Waiting is the hardest part. Acting is easy, but staying silent, that is like a punishment. Every morning I woke up, looked at my daughters, searched for peace in their faces, and reminded myself, this isn't for an instant fix. This is for justice. Serena was growing bigger by the day. Her name was in the newspapers, her face on magazine covers. Self-made woman, people called her. I would read those words and laugh. The very hand she used to climb to the top was the hand that had strangled my future. One evening, my father called. He said, "Serena is being honored at the city's biggest gala. Big people, big media." He was so proud. To me, those words were like a bell, a signal. Eris looked at me. This is the stage. If we wanted to hide the truth, we would have done it in the dark. But if we want to kill the lie, we must bring it into the light. I knew that when the day came, I would tremble, but I would not back down. The day of the gala arrived. I stood before the mirror. There was no makeup on my face, only the truth. I wore a simple dress because I wasn't there to be the light. I was there to bring the light. My daughter's photos were in my bag to remind me why I was there. The hall was filled with light, cameras, laughter, applause. Serena stood on the stage, confident like a woman who had already won. My mother sat in the front row, Evelyn right beside her. My husband, Mark, he was there too. Our eyes met. He didn't recognize me because I was no longer that woman. Serena was giving her speech. Struggle, success, family. Every word was a lie, but it was beautifully packaged. People cheered. That applause felt like bullets in my ears. Eris walked up to me and whispered, "Now." I walked forward. My feet felt heavy, but my heart was calm. I climbed the stage. The hall fell silent. Serena looked at me. The color drained from her face. "I have only come to ask one question. This success, whose money paid for it?" No one could say a word. I raised my hand. Eris gave the signal. The screen lit up, and then that voice, my mother's voice, Serena's voice, the money, the fraud, the forgery, everything became public. I didn't even need to look. I could hear the sound of the truth breaking them, the sound of silence. That moment shattered with a single sound. The stage lights were glaring, but inside the hall, a darkness had descended. The recording played on, every word crystal clear, every sentence impossible to deny. In my mother's voice, there was no shame. In Serena's, there was no fear. Only calculations, profits, and my name used like an obstacle to be cleared. At first, there was a deathly silence. Then came the whispers, followed by shouts. Some stood up, some raised their phones to record. The media, who just minutes ago viewed Serena as a goddess, had now caught the scent of prey. Serena lunged for the microphone. "This is edited. This is a lie." But the most terrifying thing about the truth is, it never has to scream. It remains calm, and people simply understand. My mother stood frozen, her face ghostly white. Evelyn clutched her hand, the same hand that had once been raised to strike me. Today, that hand was trembling. My husband, Mark, walked toward me. For the first time, I saw the truth in his eyes. Terror. He said, "I didn't know." I looked him in the eye. "Not knowing is also a choice," I said. My voice did not shake. The police arrived. The law followed. The very system they had silenced with money now stood against them. Bank accounts frozen, projects halted, assets seized. It wasn't a matter of hours. Within days, where their names once commanded respect, now signaled a crime. I sat in the courtroom with my daughter's photos in my bag. When the judge read the verdict, I didn't feel the joy of winning. I only felt a heavy weight being lifted. Mark came to see me one last time. He said, "We can start over." I looked at my daughters. They were playing, fearless. "I have already started over," I replied. That day, I signed the divorce papers, not out of fear, but out of freedom. Today, when I watch my daughters sleeping in the morning, I realize it wasn't revenge that made me strong. It was the truth. I hadn't lost. I remained silent, and that silence one day became a roar. This isn't just my story. This is the story of every mother who was broken but refused to fall apart. Even after everything ends, some things never truly finish. People think that once justice is served, the mind finds immediate peace. But for me, after justice arrived, it brought an unfamiliar void. The war that had kept me alive was over, and once the dust settled, both my body and my mind were utterly exhausted. I sat alone in the house. My 2 daughters were asleep. The house was new walls, new windows, but inside my mind, those